Welcome to the Craze in 10 or less. This is the show where I give it to you in 10 minutes or under. And if I don't, things happen. Anyway, are you hiding your confidence to appease others? That's the topic of the day. I'm Sam the Crazy Man Vera. Stop acting up. Let's get it. All right. Let's get this going. So it's a week before I have to go to the expo. I'm exhausted. I got so much stuff to do, but I'm going to give you the 10 or less. So why this topic? Let's see. I was reading an article, and then I started reflecting on things that I've experienced. So I said, hey, how does this play into anything you do, whether it's comics, animation, business, whatever it is that you're doing? What does confidence have to do with others and their perception, right? So we talk about arrogance versus confidence, right? And for me, it's as simple as perception, right? So one person can perceive you as confident, another person can perceive you as arrogance. And I'll give you an example. You're like, Sam, get to the point. What do you mean? I'm getting there. So let's say you're in a collective, in a group, right? And the team is presented with a problem, and you automatically have the solution. Boom, I got this. Boom, this is the don't. This is what we can do. This is how we can solve it. Blah blah blah. So here's what just happened. Because you jumped in and you didn't wait. This is where the mindset kicks in from the others watching you. You're gonna hear things like, "Oh, he's a brown noser." Or you're going to hear, oh, he's just trying to get promoted. Oh, this guy's so cocky. Oh, he's so full of himself. Oh, my gosh. Why is it, what happened to the rest of us? Blah, 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 blah. And so all that stuff happens, right? So now what happens over time if this is consistently happening, right? You're always coming to save the day. You always have that solution. Maybe what others, forget about what others understand of your experience and how you got to this point where you're able to come up with solutions. We're still talking about perception. So after a while, you're constantly hearing this. Then you got that one person that comes to you. Well, the team's resenting you because you're always saving the day, or you always absolutely they think you're full of yourself, or this and that. So after a while, you start tapering yourself. So that energy that you bring to the room is no longer there. Now you pull back. Now you're sitting in the back and you're quiet. And so now the higher ups that have looked at you as, potentially the next step guy, the guy who's in line for that next promotion, that guy that they can count on. Now, characteristically, you have changed, right? Body language has changed. You're not walking into the room with that pop in your step, right? And so now you're sitting there and you're feeling the room out and you're waiting for others to contribute because of fear of that, the gossip, the noise. So my question is, why do you have to change who you are? So, and this is where, again, I go back to confidence versus arrogance. It's okay to be a forward thinker. It's okay to be aggressive and competitive. And if you've done your homework and you know your stuff, by all means. But here's the thing. Drown out the noise. Drown out the noise, because the noise doesn't pay your bills. But there's a caveat to this. Let's say you're in this collective and you're putting your best foot forward because you want that position. You want to grow. You want that position. And that position now goes from being a team member to a team leader. Here's where it gets tricky. So now this is where the psychological warfare comes into play, right? And this is where now, same scenario, you're walking into the room. You're part of a collective. You want that position. You want to be next in line, but that next in line might mean that you'll be responsible for the group that you're among. So now, does their feedback, is it important to you? And how can you still be just as confident and still provide value to the organization and keep yourself in the decision maker's eyes without pulling back? That's the question, right? So some things that I learned along the way was count. One of the tricks that I did when I went into meetings was when there was a question posed, I counted down. I counted down from 10. Slowly, too, in my mind. 10, 9, 8. What this did was allow people in the room an opportunity to raise their hand and contribute before you did. Didn't mean that you pulled back. Didn't mean you weren't less excited. Didn't mean you're not chomping at the bits. It doesn't mean you're not you go in there and say, look, I know. But what it did was it gave your peers an opportunity. So now what happens is the first person talks. They might have a brilliant idea. You never know. Sometimes you ran and the boss takes that and runs with it, and you never got an opportunity to hear somebody else's point of view. So this gives you an opportunity because the ball's always going to come back. So, if you're in a collective, it's going to go into a collaborative conversation. So during that, my tactic that I changed was the words that I chose. So I listened first, let everybody, and then I picked up on some things. So what I did was I listened to the others, and I heard some things, and I said, I don't think that's going to work, but I like that, blah, blah, blah. How would that work with what I'm trying to do, what I think we could do? And you listen. And so then when it was time for me to present, now I'm like, in listening to what Johnny had to say, I was thinking about this, but he made me reflect on another option. So here's where I was, but this is what I think we could do together. And now what it did was, now you brought in an ally. You're not in it alone. You're there with Johnny. You're still as confident as ever. But you had to try to figure out how to get the others in the mix. Because what happens is, now Johnny's like, oh, he's not arrogant. He is a team player. And now if you work together on a solution, when it's time for that promotion, that resentment's gone. Because the caring was there. So, care just as much as for your career, but understand that it takes a village when you're in a collective. This is why a lot of indie groups don't last, because everybody wants to be chief and not everybody's listening. And sometimes, so at first it starts off as a great idea and everybody's like, oh yeah, I think we need to form a collective and indie stand together and blah, blah. And then 6 months to a year, it's down, right? Because everybody wants to be chief. Everybody wants the microphone and nobody's listening. So I just provided just a simple solution on how you can still remain confident, still be a solutions-oriented visionary, but tapered so that way, if you're in a collective, learn how to play with others. Because remember, not everyone's going to be as confident as you. You can still remain confident. They're going to see you as that. They're going to say, I like working with this guy because he has a lot of good ideas. He's a hustler. He's this, he's that, right? The reason why they'll say that is because you're working with them. But if you're like, this is how we're going to do it, and this is whatever, and then you're going to have those who are not as confident who are going to resent you because they want to be, but they feel that maybe you've taken the spotlight from them. So that's where the resentment grows in. So as you grow and working your way up the ladder, learn how to share the spotlight until you're the one pitching, right? So learn how to be an outfielder. Learn how to play the field. Because when you're up to bat, it's a single sport. It's about you and your performance. That's when you shine. Hit that grand slam. Hit that home run. Get on base every single time. Your earnings grow up. You grow. But when you're in the field, play to win as a team. Be an effective team member, right? Because you're always going to have that moment in the sun but you also got to learn how to play with others. Unless you're going dolo all the way, unless you're just going to be an entrepreneur all the way and you can just do it on your own. But you also got to learn how to network, right? So these are just things. I was reading an article and it just like, oh, you know what? I really don't have any comic related things, but I do have something that affects all of us, right? Because I was in those scenarios where, you know, I had a chip on my shoulder. I had a lot to prove and I wanted to prove it and I wanted the promotions until I realized, okay, I'm burning past people and I'm alienating the clique that I'm part of. So I got to change that because I was trying to win favor from the decision makers, and I really didn't care at the time that what anybody on my level thought. And I didn't realize that one day I'll be responsible for that group. And they can make or break you when you're in the leadership position. Make sense? So this is why, you know what? You know, play nice, but play to win. Don't change who you are. Just alter the tactic to get the same result, if that makes sense. Anyway, that's the Crazy and Talentless. That was the topic of the day. What do you think? If you have an opinion about this, let me know. You think I'm wrong? Sam, you are just crazy. Tell me. You know, I love feedback. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe. Don't forget, there's needle in my toilet. Hey, yo. You know kids. I know kids. You got your neighbor has kids. Your sister has kids. Your brother has kids. There's needle in my toilet. Have you signed up? Come on. Come on. This is all ages, kid-friendly, fun. This campaign has an activity book, has the coloring book, has the children's book. There's the comic book. There's needle in my toilet. Then there's Duty's Adventures, the kids book. So please recommend it to all your family members, your friends, the teachers. Let's get all the kids reading There's Needle in My Toilet. I can't do it without you. And don't forget to pledge to the Adventures of Wonderduck. I think there's 2 weeks left. And he's killing it. So go ahead and pledge. With that said, I'm Sam, the Crazy Man Forever. This is the Crazy and Talentless. I appreciate every single one of you. Have a blessed day. Peace.